My brother has had an affair with our stepmother for years, and I'm the only one who knows. When my brother and I were young, our mom abandoned us, leaving us with our dad. He then remarried a much younger woman who wasn't really a mother figure, but paid us some attention. Our dad struggled with alcohol and abused us. My brother suffered more than I did and became close to our stepmother. When he was 17, I found out he and our stepmom having sex in his bedroom. He begged me to not tell dad or else he would get killed. When me, 27M, and my brother, 25M, were very young, our mom abandoned us and our dad. He remarried when we were 14 and 12. At the time, our new stepmother was 26 and our dad was 42. She wasn't much of a motherly figure, but she was nice to us and paid more attention to us than our dad did, driving us to school, hanging out with us, and stuff like that. 2 years into their marriage, she gave birth to our sister. From the outside, we looked like a happy family, even with their age gap. The reality was far more toxic. Our dad has had a habit of drinking for as long as I can remember, and it worsened over time, along with his temper. That resulted in countless beatings for me and my brother, which, being older, I did my best to take most of. My brother was already suffering from our mom's abandonment, and the way our dad treated us made it much worse. He was a scared kid who never wanted to leave my side. There was a time when things got better. Our dad actually quit drinking and did his best to reconcile with us. I tried to forgive and maintain a healthy relationship, but my brother never accepted the apologies and promises. During this time, our dad met our stepmom. I think their honeymoon phase lasted long enough for her to marry him and get pregnant before she realized she made a mistake. Around the time my sister was born, everything started falling apart again. They began arguing. He started drinking again. He started attacking us again, which she tried her best to stop him from doing. My brother started acting out more and more. Him and my stepmom started to have some sort of alliance against my dad in every argument that happened. I was in the midst of it all, stuck taking care of my baby sister and trying to keep her as away from the chaos as possible. My dad spent more and more time on business trips and at our lake house, aka having affairs. Meanwhile, my brother started acting out of control, getting into trouble at school. He started running away from home, even got arrested twice. Then he came out as bisexual, which was the last straw for our dad. They had the biggest argument so far, which turned into a physical altercation that I had to break up. After that, our dad basically moved to our family lake house and started spending most of his time there. Our stepmom stayed at home, being a housewife, and hired a 24/7 nanny for our sister. I moved for college at 18, and that's when my brother was left living alone with our stepmom. I don't know why me and him grew up into such different people. I always did everything in my power to rise above the abandonment and the abuse. My only goal in life was to not end up anything like my parents, and I never blamed myself for what I had to endure as a child. But my brother couldn't escape the suffering and the self-blame. He sank further down with every passing day and wanted everyone and everything to sink with him. I tried so many times to help him, and I often felt like my words were getting to him, but it was never enough. Whenever he improved, he always went back to his old ways. When he was 17, I walked in on him and our stepmom having sex in his bedroom. That was the worst day of my life. Obviously, he begged me not to tell our dad, saying he would get killed, and I couldn't exactly disagree. This went on for years, and it turned into some sort of sick living situation. He didn't move for college, and when they were alone, which was often, they were living like a couple. He talked to me a lot about how they're in love, how she's going to divorce our dad, how they're going to run away together, and so on. I could never condone this relationship. I tried to get him to think about what he was doing, but in his mind, there was nothing wrong with it. 3 years ago, I got my hopes up more than ever. They had an argument, and he ended things. He moved in with me and my long-term girlfriend, and he lived with us for about 8 months. He even found a boyfriend who was a really nice, normal guy. My girlfriend, who got me to start therapy, way back in my second year of college, started gently encouraging him as well. Just when we felt we were making progress with him, he quite literally disappeared from our lives. He was gone from our apartment one morning, along with his things. He blocked our number and broke up with the guy he was seeing. When I had time, I went home, and he was there with our stepmom again, acting like nothing happened. He didn't want to talk to me at all. I had to refocus on my life and maintain my relationship, job, and social life. Then, 2 years ago, my dad called to tell me that my stepmom was pregnant. Apparently, she needed more fulfillment in her life, and he decided to give her a baby, even though he still hadn't gone back to fully living with her. I immediately knew what happened. It didn't take long for my brother to admit to me that he got her pregnant. She found out quickly and went to our dad to tell him she wanted a baby. They slept together for a few days. She went home, and sometime later, she informed him that she was pregnant. My dad didn't want much to do with the baby, just like with my sister, who is now 10, and basically lives with her mom's parents most of the time, or stays with me and my girlfriend, who thankfully loves her and loves spending time with her. Our stepmom gave birth to another girl. Since then, they have been busy with the baby. Our dad has continued being absent and clearly blind, and I try to have the best possible relationship with my brother. I gave up trying to help him. I developed sleeping problems and anxiety from knowing everything that I know, but I stayed focused on my own mental health, since at the end of the day, you can't fix other people's issues for them. You can only love them and give them advice. They choose their next move. I had a conversation with him recently. He told me that he finally reached the conclusion that he hasn't been happy since the day our mother left, and that nothing he ever did brought him closer to happiness until his daughter was born. I think about how tragic it is that our dad's name is written on her birth certificate, and I still don't understand how or why life can be as fucked up as it's been for my brother. Relevant commenter, from a 29-year-old woman sleeping with a 15-year-old boy to a child who's going to have a fucked up adulthood when she finds out Daddy Dearest is also older, bro. OP. Technically, he was 17 and she was 31 when they started sleeping with each other. But obviously, that doesn't make it better. Commenter, I swear I read that as when I was 17 I walked in LOL, but they probably were sleeping together before just the first time you caught them. Either way, a terrible burden for you to carry. OP. He did apparently tell me everything the way it was, but clearly I can't know for sure. Still, the grooming had to have been going on for longer, and that's just as fucked up. Commenter, I'm so sorry that your parents failed you and your brother, and that your stepmother groomed your brother. That's what happened. A fully grown adult groomed him. None of this is his or your fault. That being said, there is very little you can do to help him if he doesn't want to be helped. You've offered counseling, you've offered him somewhere safe to live, and he doesn't want that. As long as he knows that's still on the table, you have to let him live his own life and make his own mistakes. I'm so sorry for him, and for his innocent child, and your half-sister, TBH. What a mess. But, and this is important, you cannot set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. By that I mean you need to protect yourself and nurture your own well-being. You need to take a step back. Let your brother know you are there if he needs you, but he needs to reach out. Then, get on with your life. Story 2. Ada for separating my finances from my husband because he keeps lending money to his parents? We've been together for over 9 years, and until this year, the thought of separating our finances never even crossed my mind. I'm generally frugal, and he's more of a spender. In the beginning, it didn't bother me, as we had 2 incomes, and even though we weren't rich, life was comfortable. His family often borrowed money from us, and they rarely paid it back. Personally, I don't lend money to anyone, not even family, but I never stopped him from doing it. A few years into our marriage, my husband was in a serious accident, and since then, he hasn't been able to work. As a result, I became the sole breadwinner. Recently, after 4 long years, he was finally approved for disability benefits. During those years, our savings were depleted, and we were on the brink of losing everything. Our debts kept piling up, and there was nothing I could do about it. When he finally received a back payment for the entire time he'd been waiting for disability benefits, I asked him for just one thing, to pay off his car loan, for which I had already paid over $45,000 in the last few years, and maybe save some of the money. He did neither of these things. Instead, he blew through the cash, lent $8,000 to his family, and didn't contribute a cent to our debts. Meanwhile, I had managed to save a bit from my salary, but it wasn't much. My plan was to save enough to pay off some of our debts. He knew I was saving for this purpose. About a month ago, I noticed that $600 had disappeared from our savings account. I asked him what happened, and he admitted he lent it to his parents. I asked when they'd pay it back, because I needed it soon for bills, and he replied that he didn't know when they'd be able to. I was furious, not just because of the money, but because he didn't ask me. We didn't discuss it. He acted behind my back, knowing I'd be mad and would have said no. We had a huge fight, and I hoped that after that he'd stop, but he didn't. Yesterday I checked our account and saw another $900 missing. Again, it went to his parents. I'm beyond angry. I told him that I was done with his parents. I'll pay half of the bills, buy groceries, and that's it. If he wants to give all his disability payments to his parents, fine, but I'm not going to work 60 hours a week just for him to give our money away. So, état for going to the bank, withdrawing all the money I had saved, and opening a new account that he has no access to? He says I'm being an asshole, and that I should want his parents to be happy. I'd love to see them happy, but I'm not willing to fund it with my own well-being. Relevant comments. Commenter. Tell him he can sell his $45K plus car and downsize if he wants to give away his money, which is really your money. I'll bet he's not willing to make the sacrifice that he expects from you. NTA, and I would require that a percentage of his disability go to your account as well. Commenter. Exactly. He has debts but is driving around in a $45K plus car that OP is paying for? Nah, not right. Sell the car and buy something less than half the amount. OP take back all the money he's basically stolen from you. Commenter. You need to cut him off today and move your money. However, that isn't going to stop him giving his money to the family and expecting you to pick up the financial slack at home when he can't afford his share of your bills. This is a hill to die on. If you can't agree on an approach to financial planning and he adheres to it, this would be divorce territory for me. Story 3. Ada for breaking up with my BF for how he acted in a haunted house. Throwaway for privacy. I, 22F, have been with my boyfriend, 24M, for 2 years. For some background, I'm chronically ill and have a few issues that impact my ability to do activities that require a lot of standing and walking. I have a joint condition and a fainting condition. Typically, I use a wheelchair for outings like that. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend Mark told me that he and his friends had planned to go to a local amusement park for one of their Halloween nights, and he wanted me to come with him. There's an amusement park near our town that, before they close down for the winter, open the park for the weekend nights as a haunted theme park. Decorations, fog machines, haunted houses, and scare actors, something I loved doing before I got sick. While the park itself is wheelchair accessible during the main running, it isn't during their haunt nights. The haunt zones have steps, dips, tight spaces, sharp tight corners, low ceilings, and it's super dark. Not to mention a lot of it is done in fields, on gravel, or nailed together boards with cracks and gaps. And these zones are located in main areas you need to get through the park, not something you can do in a wheelchair. Unfortunate, but not everything will be accessible. That's a fact of life. I thanked Mark for the offer, but declined giving the above reasons. He told me that I could do without a wheelchair for a single night. We argued for a minute before he told me he had already bought a ticket for me and that I had to go. He didn't want to be the only one without his girlfriend there. I eventually gave up and agreed. The trip was awful. It didn't open till 8 and went till 12 a.m. and rained the entire time. I was freezing cold, despite dressing in borderline winter clothes. My fingers were so cold they hurt. Mark never once offered me his extra coat, because this was a popular holiday attraction. The lines were insane, so there was a ton of standing. Something I can't handle with my fainting condition. My boyfriend refused to make his friends stop to give me breaks to sit, and he wouldn't stay back with me because he didn't want to miss out. So I had to kneel on the wet, muddy ground so I didn't pass out. Because of how uneven the ground was, transitions between concrete, gravel, grass, mud, the constant jostling and jolting made my hips, knees, and ankles hurt like hell. By the end of the night, I could barely walk. Mark wouldn't ask his friends to slow down and wouldn't hang back to walk with me, so he basically dragged me around, trying to keep up with his friends. When I made any uncomfortable noises, he told me to quit trying to guilt him. On the car ride home, he told me that my constant complaining and inability to just relax and have fun ruined the vibes of the trip and made it look like we don't get along. I didn't get dropped off at home until about 1:30 in the morning. I ran a bath to soak my aching body and to seriously reconsider my relationship. Mark has never been the most accommodating of my disabilities. He started out caring and accommodating, but over time started acting like I was personally inconveniencing him. He never fully understood why I always felt so shitty. He always urged me to leave my wheelchair at home when we went out, and at one point told me that me getting a service dog made him uncomfortable. I'm on a wait list. I got out of the bath and texted him telling him it was over, and gave him a few reasons why. He didn't respond until noon the next day, calling me a bitch and saying that I was being dramatic. When I told my parents and brother what happened, they said that, while I can break up with whoever I want, that doesn't change the fact that I expect too much out of people. My family thinks that I expected too much from Mark, and that I was being dramatic just because he wasn't the most helpful. ATA? Edit to add. My family is the type who believes that disabilities aren't real, and that if you're chronically ill, all you need is yoga, Jesus, and more veggies to live a completely normal, functioning life. Thank you for sticking around until the end. If you liked our videos, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Have a wonderful day.